I'm Mark Payne of MK1 Photography, and today is all about Aperture. So what is Aperture? Aperture basically means your background blur. Really, at the end of the day, that's what it means. It's part of your exposure triangle, as we say, f-stops, shutter speed, ISO. If you're going to change your aperture in a shot, you're going to have to make adjustments elsewhere as well to compensate on your exposure. But basically what it means is your blurry backgroundness. Okay, simple as that. But I can show you here exactly what happens in a scientific way with this old lens. This is an old Pentagon M42 1.8 50mm lens, and as you can see right now, looking through the lens, it's wide open at f1.8. The lower the number, the wider open it is. The wider open your lens, the more light it lets in. The more light it lets in, the more blur and more depth of field you're going to get in your shot. Okay, depth of field, if something's really close, it's going to be nice and in focus. All the background is going to be really blurry and unrecognisable. On an f1.8, sometimes if you're doing a tight portrait, you can have so much as the nose really sharp in focus and the eyes can be out of focus. That's how shallow of a depth of field that you've got. But looking at this lens here, as you can see, it's on 1.8 at the moment, which is wide open. And as I turn the aperture, you can see that slight movement inside. Okay, so let's bang it up to 8, and there you go. You can see straight away the thing inside there moving. It's making the amount of light that goes through the lens less and less and less and less and less and less until you get to its max there, which is f16. So if you're going to shoot at something with an f16, you can see there it's a tiny hole, so you're not going to have as much light coming through, so you need to adjust the rest of your camera settings judging on round your aperture. Okay, sometimes you might not be too worried about the aperture. Sometimes you might be shooting sports or fast moving stuff and everything will be all about the shutter speed, but then you have to adjust your aperture and f-stop to compensate on that. You'd need something that's quite wide open like this if you're shooting in low light like I am today, or using lighting and stuff like that. But that is basically what it is. Wide open, f1.8, and that's all the way down to 16. So let's have a look at some pictures and see exactly what happens and exactly what I mean by the background blur and what aperture does. Okay, so let's take some shots and see exactly what happens when we start changing aperture. I've got this tiny little lady here. We're going to be looking at the phone, which I'm videoing on the background there, and also my lovely white and green curtains as well. And we're going to see what happens on the blurriness of the curtains and the phone, and how the character in the front here is going to stay in focus. I'm going to start off with it's just a modern day version of this really, which is an f1.8 50mm lens. It's a Canon EF lens. I'm going to start off straight away on f1.8, so this will give me a really blurry background, and straight away it's quite hard to actually focus in on the subject because you've got such a shallow depth of field. But there we go, first shot off, bang. And as you can see, the character there, her face is nice and in focus, but even her legs are slightly blurry. The phone and the picture in the background really blurry, and the curtains even more blurry. So let's bang it up now. I'm going to bang it right up to, let's see, we won't go all through every stop. Let's go up to 4. Like I said, you've got to compensate when you're changing f-stops because of the exposure pyramid. This is at f4. And as you can see, the phone is starting to get a bit more in focus, along with the curtains. This is going to be the story all the way through. So let's just change up now to f8. Again, the phone and curtains are coming more into light now, more into the picture. And then, I mean, I can't actually remember what f-stop this goes all the way up to, but let's go to 20. Adjusting with ISO and shutter speed again to compensate. I'm using a flash because it's quite low light in this room. And there we go. You can see again the curtains in the phone are getting more and more in focus. And that's pretty much it. That's, that's your aperture settings, and that's what Aperture actually does. in future videos I'm going to go on about shutter speed and ISO as well. But like I said, you've got to compensate when you're changing your aperture because of the exposure triangle. If you're going to make adjustments to your aperture, you're going to have to change something else as well. But I hope this video is helpful for you. A bit of a beginner's video today, but hey, you know, we're all beginners, and like I said before in the past, we take this journey together, and you can only get better by keep shooting, people. So get your cameras, get out there and shoot. It doesn't matter what, just shoot your stuff. Laters.